Good evening, Dave.
Hey, Jamie. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can, yeah, absolutely. So cool. I'm excited about the webinar tonight.
Oh my gosh, me too. I've got lots of cool stuff I want to talk about. I think this is stuff people in St. Louis really need to hear.
Very cool. And we've got lots going on already. We've got 10 already.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, can you hear me okay? I'm a little concerned about my internet here.
Yep, I can. You sound pretty good. You're traveling right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm just sitting in a hotel room in Biloxi, Mississippi, praying the internet's going to work. But I think it seems to be working okay so far. We'll see. Where are you at?
I am home this week, so working from home. I love the lifestyle that real estate allows us to do. That I can work from home, be here anytime I want. I've got kids graduating this week and all kinds of things. You're traveling all over.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the cool part. I think if you do it right, it lets you have the lifestyle where you can kind of work when you want and work from where you want and kind of put in the hours that you want to work. That's something I included that in some of the webinar slides later tonight. I'm definitely going to talk about that, but I'm kind of glad you brought it up just in case the internet cuts out. People will understand I'm doing this from a hotel room in Mississippi.
Exactly. Well, we'll keep it going when you come back in. So good. And we have it's 8 o'clock. So we've got some folks that are coming. The numbers keep going up, so they're coming on in. For those of you that are joining us, you guys are on time. I think we should probably get started. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'll go ahead and start. My name's Chris Kleewein. I'm glad everybody joined tonight. I've got my friend Jamie here that's helping me out tonight. Thank you, Jamie.
You are very welcome. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So this is a St. Louis Investor Academy, and here's what I want to go over tonight. This is my goals or agenda for the night. It's to show you how to use real estate in St. Louis to supplement your income, and you don't have to quit your job to do it. Even if you've already got a job or other commitment, I'm going to show you what's happening right now in St. Louis and what opportunities are available for you, and to show you that freedom and that lifestyle is closer than you think. And again, I want to show you what's happening in St. Louis. I'm not a professional trainer. I don't travel the country to teach real estate. I'm a St. Louis investor, and I like teaching St. Louis. A lot of national trainers will come to town, and they've got great ideas and concepts, but they don't know what's happening right here in St. Louis. So that's what I want to share with you guys tonight on this webinar.
And that's the coolest thing, Chris. And we mentioned that you were traveling, but it's all fun travel. You're at a big resort and casino and doing all kinds of fun stuff down there in Mississippi. Not teaching anybody how to do real estate there.
Yeah, my wife has really got the travel bug. For us, that the lifestyle and the reason that I do what I do is to spend time with my family, and what I think people go through phases, right? And right now my wife and family is definitely in the traveling phase. So far this year we've already been on a Bahama cruise and a couple of other little trips, and she just enjoys traveling, and that's something that this lifestyle will allow.
Yeah, the ability to pick up a couple extra $1,000 a month, has afforded us. My husband and I this year alone have been in England, we've been in Bali, and we've been in the Netherlands. So in addition to some local stuff, so it's amazing.
That's nice. I love that. Well, here's what having been in and around St. Louis, all my life, I know there's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people that are making it paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes not even that. I just saw this on CNBC. 40% of Americans are going to be in poverty in retirement. And I know that I believe in St. Louis, the numbers are even higher. And then here it says nearly 3/4 of workers now plan to work past retirement age because they're just not sure how to make ends meet. And that's what I just get so excited about this. I can't even hardly contain it because I think that the opportunities are out there. And this is what I believe. I believe if you know what to do and how to do it, you can make an incredible, healthy, full-time income in real estate in St. Louis, working part-time, even if you've already got a full-time job and a family at home. So that's what I'm going to show you tonight. A little bit about me. So my name's Chris Kleewein. I'm a wholesaler, a landlord, and a coach. I mentioned I'm not a professional speaker. I wholesale houses. I rehab a couple of houses each year. I own rental property. I do have a broker's license in Missouri, but you don't need a broker's license or a realtor's license to do any of that. And having said all that, I realize, all you St. Louis folks, that none of that matters. Nobody cares about any of that. Everybody always asks me the same thing. The one thing that's important in St. Louis, and everybody's going to ask it, where did you go to high school, right? People outside of St. Louis don't get that. I don't know why it's a St. Louis thing, but that's a huge St. Louis thing, Jamie. And everybody's going to ask me where I went to high school. So I went to Francis Howell High School.
Where was it? Francis
Howell High School.
There you go.
Yeah.
Francis Howell, folks. There you go.
People outside of St. Louis are always boggled by that when they come here and people ask, where'd you go to high school? Oh, I wasn't from St. Louis. Anyway, so tonight I'm going to cover the basic wholesale strategy. There's 3 strategies working in St. Louis right now. One of them is wholesaling, and that's what I get so excited about talking about because the barrier to entry is so low. Almost anybody can do this. So I like talking about it by telling a little story about my son. My son, he is 16 now, but when he was younger, he would do anything to make money. He would find garage sales, a lady like this having a garage sale, and he would look for somebody who's having a garage sale, and you could tell she just wants to get rid of things. So she's got them out there for 25 cents, 50 cents, a dollar, and he would particularly go looking for the cell phones. Now, anybody that's got a smartphone, you know, you've got old smartphones, and when you upgrade, you just throw the old one in the drawer, and they tend to come out at the garage sales, and usually a couple bucks, maybe $5. So he walks into the garage sale, looks for these, picks up, finds this one for $5, and he types the details right into his working smartphone, right? Everybody in middle school or older now seems to have a smartphone, so he's got one. He pulls it out of his pocket and pulls up this app. So he can type in the details from that $5 phone into this app, and it'll tell him that it'll pay him $16 for this, and it pays for his free shipping. So, you know, he's buying it for $5, selling it for 16. He's making $11. So that's wholesaling. He's buying it cheap, selling it for just a little more, selling it quick, and that's wholesaling. It's certainly, you can do that with anything these days, buying things at Craigslist, garage sale, or whatever. But Jamie, at $11 each, it's going to take us a whole long time to get to a 6-figure income, right?
Exactly.
So we want to make the big sack of cash, and so we do that by applying this exact same strategy to houses. Here, and we do the same thing with houses. We wholesale them. Now, a lot of people have some questions on how does that work, or what does it look like to wholesale a house? And basically, it looks like this: we find a house, and it's important that we find it that it's a deal. And there's deals out there every day in St. Louis. We find a good deal, and we put it under contract. We lock it up, if you will, with a contract, and then we find somebody, an investor who wants to pay us a little more, and we assign the contract to them. We sell them the contract for cash that we get paid at closing. And we'll talk in a minute about what the profits look like here in St. Louis, but this is what wholesaling looks like right now. And it's so cool. It's so much fun. And I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you more about it, but let me talk about why I like it. And really it's what makes wholesaling work. And these are the reasons why I like it. And the number one reason why I like wholesaling is, we're making money, right? You're definitely making money. But when you walk out of there, you're helping people. You are helping someone. The people who are selling their house at a deal generally don't care about the money. They've got a problem. Either they've inherited a house they don't want, they're burnt out being a landlord, they've got a house they just need to get rid of. and you're helping these people. And there's something so powerful and amazing when you go to closing and you're helping them through their paperwork, and you're you're going to be walking out of there with a $10,000 check. We get that, but at the same point, they're thanking you. This happens so much, and they hug you, and often they cry. It makes you feel good. You're making money, don't get me wrong, but it just makes you feel amazing. And when I had a job in the corporate world, my boss never hugged me or thanked me.
No, they don't do that, do they?
No, not at all. And so that's part of what I love about wholesaling. And there's more. I mean, definitely it helps people, but the cool part about it doesn't take any money or any credit. Nobody, when you fill out a contract, they're not asking you to fill out an application or loan pre-approval or anything. And it's also low risk. If you use my paperwork and you make a mistake and you put it under contract for too much, my paperwork has escape clauses that let you get out and walk away from the deal. And now, we're not going to go out and put everything under contract. I mean, that's not what we're doing. We want to be moral and ethical and do the right thing. So we're really only going to evaluate, and if it's a deal, we'll put it under contract. But if we make a mistake, my paperwork keeps you safe. You can tear it up, part as friends, and that person's no worse off. They still have the house to sell. It's just not going to be selling it to me, right? It's also fast. Generally, we'll be in and out of a wholesale deal within just a matter of a couple of days, as compared to, say, a rehab that could be 3 to 6 months. This is fast. Lucrative. We'll talk about the dollars in a minute. Low time commitment. Most all the top wholesalers in St. Louis meet in my office once a month for a mastermind. We share what's working, what's not working, where we see the St. Louis economy going, because things change a lot in St. Louis. As a matter of fact, what's working today isn't the same thing that was working 6 months or a year ago. So all the wholesalers that meet in my office, none of them are working full time, and the minimum requirement to be at the table is a 6-figure income. And none of those people are working more than 20 or 30 hours a week. It just doesn't take that much. So that's one of the things I love. And then clearly it can supplement other investing strategies. If you're a realtor or a contractor or a landlord, you can do those and still wholesale a deal here too, here or there. So that's why I love wholesaling. I want to show you the first wholesale opportunity I ever had. Okay.
You hit it out of the park on the first one, right?
Right, for sure I did. I definitely did. You know that. Let me show you. I wish that was the case. I almost want to cry every time I think about this deal. Okay, so this is the first deal I did. And anybody on the call that's from St. Charles, you'll recognize this house. This is a typical house that you see in St. Charles in the Frenchtown area. This one's on 5th Street over in Old Town St. Charles. And here's the notes on the deal. Oops, I was supposed to build this one at a time. Let me just go back. Oops, well, I'll just walk through this. So I bought the first, I had it under contract for $55,000, and I was going to borrow that money from a bank because honestly, I didn't have $55,000 at the time. I also didn't have the $30,000 that I needed to do the rehab. So I was going to borrow that from a credit card or a home equity line of credit. And I was going to have the rehab done in about 3 months. And then back then it took another 3 months to sell it. So I was going to have the whole thing done in 6 months and make about $20,000. Now, the first day I was over there and I got a knock on the door, and it's another investor. And he says, "Hey, is this the house that's for sale?" I said, "No, this is, I've got it under contract. It was for sale." But he said, "Well, can I look at it?" So I start showing him around and showing him what I'm doing. He got pretty excited about it. And he goes, "Man, this deal is exactly what I'm looking for, Chris. And based on what you showed me and based on your cost and your numbers, I think I could do this deal for a lot less than you because I'm going to do some of the work myself rather than hiring contractors." So right then he offered $65,000. He offered basically to give me $10,000 to walk away from the deal. So I was going to buy it for $55,000. He wanted to buy it for me for $65,000. I could have made $10,000 right there in one day.
One day.
Right. One day. And clearly now looking back, obviously that was that was the right choice. But you already see the slide here. I said no. I was going to make more money by rehabbing, and boy, was that a bad mistake. There were times during this process that everything that could have gone wrong did. I didn't have the processes and procedures in place for rehabs back then like I do now. I didn't have the tools for evaluating contractors. Matter of fact, the contractor comes along, and we've heard this story many times. Well, it happened to me. He said, I need $8,000 up front for materials, and I wrote him a check, and I never saw him again ever. So
the
yeah.
age-old thing, huh? You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
my grandfather had a saying, stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I don't, everybody now, if I would ask on the call who all would take the $10,000 and run, everybody would raise their hand, I'm sure. And I just got greedy, I
I'd
guess.
probably say a lot of us, and all of us have done this, Chris. You're looking at it and thinking 10,000 or 20,000, and it's not that much longer. It's 6 months, but it's an extra 10 grand. And let's face it, 6 months and $10,000 extra in our pocket is a big deal for a lot of people. So that difference of 10,000, you made a choice that probably most of the folks on this line would probably have done the same thing, and I did in some of my deals in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was in a spot where I was working, I was paycheck to paycheck, and had some debt, and I was really just looking for a way to kind of just get a little relief, just maybe pay a little debt. I wasn't looking to make $1 million. I was just looking for something to make a little extra income, make life a little easier, and I thought this was the deal. In the end, though, after 10 months, $50,000, way over budget, at some point we had to jack up the house off the foundation and replace 2 cinder block walls by hand, my brother and I. And the blessing is I did make a profit, a $2,000 profit, which when I look at it, I mean, clearly it wasn't about the profit, it was about the learning. The 10-month, $8,000 learning here, right? I could have made $10,000 in one day. And now I found this deal back then. I could find them on the MLS, the multiple listing service, the realtor.com, if you will. We're not finding deals in St. Louis than that today, but back then we were, and we will again. We're just not now. I could have, during the next 10 months, definitely found another one of these deals and maybe more. Instead, I spent 10 months, and I like to figure it out by the hours, and you see, in the end, I was making 75 cents an hour. I would have made more money just working a side job at McDonald's or been the greeter at Walmart and still come out ahead on this deal. It was crazy.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not a one-time thing that only ever happened to you. It happens to so many people when they don't know how to do it properly.
Right. Now I teach how to do it properly. Now I get it. I've gotten years. I've done hundreds of deals. I've refined and honed the process, and this is what I teach. And this is what I see fairly common, I'll say typical or average or achievable, if you will. This is the time and money expectations that I would say for wholesaling. Now, if you change, I said average wholesale assignment fee. If you change the word assignment fee to profit, average profit in St. Louis for one deal is $7,000 to $12,000. So you see that first deal would have been right there in the average, a $10,000 deal. That's very average. And I see that students can get here within 3 to 6 months after leaving my training and can do that consistently and sustainably. And I often love asking the question, $10,000, how many of those deals do you need to change your life? And usually I'll have at least one person in the room that goes, just one, Chris, just one.
Exactly. Well, and if you look at it, Chris, $7,000 a deal, if you only did one deal a month, that's an extra $84,000 a year. That's more than a lot of people make in their full-time jobs.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're at $10,000 and you just do one a month for 10 months and then take 2 months off, you're into the 6 figures. You're at 100 grand. That puts you in the top 5% of income earners in the U.S. It's incredible. And one deal a month is definitely easy. It's definitely doable. Just working part-time. I say every single person on this call could do one deal a month. If you can't, you're doing something wrong.
There you go.
That's what I love about wholesaling. Hey, can I show you a couple of deals?
I'd love to see them. Would you guys like to see some deals? By the way, you can ask questions as you're going through. If you have questions of Chris as we go through, go ahead, and I'll be monitoring those and let Chris know what's going on.
Let me show you a couple of deals.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is Mary and George, and this is a deal that they did. I challenged them to find their first deal as fast as possible. Same thing I'm going to challenge everybody on this call. Hopefully, when you're done on this call, you'll be more excited about real estate than you've ever been before. And so I'm going to challenge you to get your first deal done as fast as possible. And that's what I challenged them. And within less than 60 days, they had their first deal under contract and closed. And here's their deal. It was this house in Maryland Heights. And it was a landlord, the tenant had moved out, and the landlord was just ready to sell. They had owned it for years. They had made their money renting it. They had paid down the mortgage, and they just wanted to be done with it. They didn't want to do any more work. They wanted to just sell it as is. Let me show you some pictures. So, you know, from the outside, not a bad-looking house, brick house. The inside has hardwood floors. I'm going to go through these a little slow because I'm not sure how long it takes for your screen to update on the other end. This is the kitchen, and you can see it's just dated. It's missing some cabinet doors. The cabinets are dated. The stove is a tiny little apartment-sized stove.
Oh, yes, that looks like a New York City stove.
Yeah, it needs some love for sure. Bathroom, dated. It looks like powder puff blue. That's definitely not the new. This is probably from the 70s. It's just dated. Mm-hmm. Now, this house.
Houses don't have to be pretty.
Right. Well, and the landlord just wanted out of this, and we did some calculations, and we figured out that we could sell this to a rehabber for about $85,000, and the rehabber would still have enough room to rehab it and put it on the market, or they could keep it as a rental if they wanted. So we asked the seller, George asked the seller what they were wanting, and they were wanting 60. They just wanted to be done with it. So George and Mary put it under contract for $60,000. And again, we thought we could sell it to a rehabber for $85,000. The very first guy that came along wanted to rent it, and he put it under contract. He offered George and Mary $82,000, and they took it. Mm-hmm. So George and Mary assigned the contract to this guy for $22,000. So the buyer needs to bring $82,000 to the table to buy the house. And it's important that I show where the money goes, because in St. Louis, as in Missouri, where the show me state, everybody, I can show this example and they're going to be like, oh, I don't believe it. So they can go and look it up on the internet and try to find the house and see what it's sold for. So I'm going to show you what you're going to see when you guys go and look at that. Here's where the $82,000 goes. The buyer brings $82,000 to the table to buy the house. Now the seller signed a contract saying they were going to sell it for $60,000. So the buyer gets $60,000 of it. George and Mary get $22,000 for a house they never owned. They were never on title. They never had to apply for a mortgage. They never had to get insurance, pay utilities, fix it, mow the lawn, nothing. They never owned the house, right. Ever. Super cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. That's why George and Mary are smiling. And here's how it looks. If you go and look us up on the county website, you'll see they came to my class in August. Within 2 months, they had this thing under contract and sold within 60 days. And here's, as I said, it sold. The seller sold it for $60,000, so that's how it's going to show up. And here's the new buyer, and George and Mary's name will never be on here anywhere. So super cool, and that's George and Mary. And because George and Mary never owned it and never actually closed on it, right? The seller closed to sell it. The new buyer closed to buy it. George and Mary have no closing costs. So when they walk out with that $22,000, there's no fees. There's no closing fee, title insurance, nothing. It's just a straight check for $22,000. It's super cool.
They had a good dinner that night, I bet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and let's talk about that for a second, because I think a lot of people get excited about real estate, and then they talk to somebody in their life that's negative and kind of talks them out of it and says, oh, this is a scam. It's a get-rich-quick scheme. And I tell them, the same thing I tell everybody. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. Nope. It's not a scam. Real estate works. I can show you example after example of how it works, but you've got to do the work. And when you do, and you're like George and Mary, and you get that first check, if you've got that negative person in your life, I recommend that you cash it into all ones and spread it out over the bed before that person, because usually that person's a spouse or a loved one, spread out all over the bed before they get home. And that's, I call that the shut up check.
Show me the money.
Right, right. And sometimes it's not just the shut up check for the other person, but it's the shut up check for that little guy that sits on your shoulder and kind of tries to say, oh, you can't do this, Chris. You can't do this. You know, it's all of a sudden now you got the self-confidence to do that deal.
Well,
And
you and I, Chris, have a mutual friend in Ryan, and he tells a story about how he bought his first house. His wife didn't want him to buy it. It was a duplex. They lived in it. They did all this stuff. He sold it, and they made like $150,000. I don't remember what the number was. But at the closing table, he just slid it over and handed it to her, and she looked at him and said, "You're my prince." So he went from being a small house to being, you know, the king of the world by the show me check.
yeah, that's super cool. There's something just amazing about that first check. And then once you get that first one, they just start to roll after that. And I know George and Mary have been doing this for 10 months now, and they've just made an incredible income doing this. Let me show you another deal. This next deal is from Matthew and Molly. And I challenged them the same thing. Go out and find your first house as fast as possible. And they found this one. It was less than 90 days from when they first got started. And this is in 63139. So anybody familiar with this, it's kind of the Dogtown area, South City, just south of Forest Park. Super cool area. It's a hot area. Lots of people want to live there. And there's a story about this house. So the lady selling this house, she's 85 years old. She's lived in this house her entire life. She was born and raised in this house. She's 85. She moved out to be in a nursing home, so the house is sitting here vacant. Now, here's the story. This lady's grandmother owned the house 100 years ago, owned the house, and this lady had, the grandmother had this lady's mom, born and raised in this house, grew up, and the lady's mom passed away even while she was still living in this house. So the grandmother lived in the house, the mom lived in the house. Now this lady's 85, she's moved into the nursing home. But here's the thing, this lady has daughters and granddaughters, and none of them want the house. They've all moved, they're married, they're living in their own houses, none of them wants the house. And they don't want to come back and fix the house up to sell it. They know they could, they just want it gone. So let me show you this house. Looks all right from the outside, cute little brick house, cute neighborhood. Here's the inside. Dated.
Yeah.
She left stuff.
That's
Yeah. And she's out of here, but she left all of this stuff behind. So whoever buys it now has all this free stuff, bedroom furniture and all that nobody wants, that we've got to get rid of. And here's the kitchen. The other one had a tiny stove. This one has the extra wide stove.
Yeah.
And metal cabinets from the 70s. And this trash bag here in front,
Yeah.
it's got chicken bones and just all sorts of nastiness. And over here by the blue bag on the floor, there's a package of meat from Schnucks, our local grocery store, that's sitting there. And I don't know how long it's been there, but it's nasty. And whoever's buying the house is getting it just like this. And here's the bathroom, dated. But let me show you the basement. It's the winner. She's moved out, and all this stuff is still there, all this stuff. Now, in this picture, I don't know if you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's like a dog crate, a pet crate or a cat crate or something. I don't know what kind of animal, but whatever kind of it was, I think it died somewhere in the basement because this basement smells nasty. And this lady's out, and she's selling it just like it is.
Yep.
Now, I helped them figure that we think we could sell this to an investor that wants to rehab it because it's a great area for about $100,000, and this lady wanted 90, and she was pretty firm. They tried a couple of times to get her to come down, but she said no, she wanted 90. So they agreed, hey, we'll pay 90, and we got it. The first rehabber that came over offered 100, just as we had figured, and so they put it under contract to buy it for 90, and they assigned the contract to that first investor for $10,000. So they walked out of the closing with $10,000. Now, just like when I was talking to my son about the cell phones, we have to buy it cheap and sell it for just a little more. We're not selling it at full retail value. We're selling it to another investor. So we've got to leave enough meat on the bone for them to make money. So as we sell it to this rehabber, there's got to be enough room for him to make money. So Matthew and Molly came to my class last summer. So this house, they've already wholesaled this to a rehabber. The rehabber's already rehabbed it, put it on the market, and resold it to the end purchaser who's moved in. And I love showing these pictures. Here's pictures of the house after the rehabber did it. This is the same house. Yeah. Amazing. Super cool. This is that same house.
Right there, yep.
So, Matthew and Molly walked out of this closing with $10,000, and this rehabber rehabbed it, did all this work, and he made some money. We estimate that he probably made somewhere in the $20,000 range. He's happy. They're happy. He put in stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, gooseneck faucet. He made it really, really nice. And so when they put it on the retail market, it sold in just 2 days. So it sold fast. He made a profit. Everybody made a profit. Check out the basement.
No dead animals there now.
No dead animals. And guess who had to clean this out? So was it Matthew and Molly that had to clean it out, or the contractor that had to clean it out?
The contractor.
Yeah, for sure. Matthew and Molly never owned the house, so they never owned it. The stuff never belonged to them, so they never had to clean it up. So that's another just beautiful thing about wholesaling. And so, again, that's Matthew and Molly.
And you know what I love about this? So Mary and, what was Mary's husband? George. Mary and George were older like you and I, but these guys, look at how young Molly is. I mean, you don't have to be old and gray to be able to do real estate. That's so cool.
Yeah. Matthew and Molly are super cool, and that was their first deal. And they've done a bunch since then. We're actually in the middle of a light rehab that we're partnering with Matthew and Molly on right now. That I'm partnering with them on. So they've done. I mean, they have just taken off. They're doing amazing things, and that gets back to the saying that I kind of started this out with: is if you know what to do and how to do it, you can make an amazing full-time income in real estate in St. Louis right now. Just working part-time, even if you've already got a full-time job, a family at home, or other commitments. The key, I think, is really just knowing what to do and how to do it. So here's where we're finding deals. We have to find homeowners that need to sell. If we had 100 homeowners in here that were wanting to sell in St. Louis, probably 99 of them would want full retail value, and those are ones we refer on to realtors. We're looking for the people that are motivated, that just need to sell, and money's not their number one concern. And there's an endless supply of these out there, and people have a hard time believing that. But I say it like this: every day there's somebody dying, somebody getting a divorce, somebody, a burnout landlord, death, divorce, taxes, you name it. There's people that they just have a problem and they want a solution, and money's never their number one concern. Usually time is their number one concern, not money. And so we offer a creative solution, and I teach you how to do that, and we make money, and a lot of times we help people in the process. It's super cool. So with that, just by being on the call today, everybody that attended today is going to get a chance to win an iPad that I'm giving away on June 2nd. And you'll also get an email here in a couple of days once my assistant can track who came, with some ways to find deals in St. Louis, and also my deal analyzer software. They'll get that for free. But I've got another...
Before you go further, we've got a couple of questions. Do you mind if we ask them now?
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Good. Okay, so Joanne wants to know, do I need to get a real estate license to get into this?
That's a great question. So no, Joanne, you don't need a real estate license. Certainly, I recommend that at some point later you get one, but what I want people to do, focus very first on just getting a deal. Just getting a deal and getting some money, and you don't need a license to do any of this. License later down the road will help open up extra avenues for money, extra streams of revenue, but certainly nothing that you need up front. Now, I do have one, so I disclose that I have one, but I rarely ever use it.
Right. Okay, good. So they can still get a check written to them in their name without having a real estate license. That's the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so Scott here says, my brother lost money when he tried to rehab a house. Gee, kind of like your first deal. How do I make sure I don't lose money on a house?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have talked to so many people that, you know, it doesn't take much to lose money and to get yourself knocked out of the game where you just never, you know, want to do another deal. And so that's why I started out by showing the one strategy that I teach that I usually have most people start with, and that's this wholesaling. We don't put money up. If we don't offer money, then we can't risk losing money. So wholesaling is a super cool way to get started where you're not putting any of your money at risk at all. You put it under contract. If you can't sell the contract, my contract keeps you safe, and you can go and get out of it, and you lost no money at all. And then when you get into the rehabbing and the landlording, the rentals, where rentals is more of a retirement income, I've got processes now and guidelines that I'll show you where you can do those and be safe, where you limit your risk. And so I get it that you lost money, or your brother-in-law lost money, and I'm sorry to hear that. But I think there's ways to do it and be safe now, especially with this wholesaling. I love wholesaling.
Yeah, absolutely. Two more, and if you guys have other questions, go ahead and ask them, and we'll keep answering them as we go through. This person, I won't mention their name, says, I just filed bankruptcy. Can I still do this? Won't the seller know that I just filed bankruptcy?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you filed bankruptcy, but I got to tell you, you came to the right place. The seller will never know that you filed bankruptcy, nor will they care. If it's amazing. So just to be clear, we're not getting these deals through real estate agents, right? A good realtor would say, hey, show me your proof of income, show me your pre-approval letter, show me, I want an earnest money check. That's not where the deals are right now in St. Louis. It used to be. It will be again, but not right now. And also not right now. We're not, right now, we're not making money on auction property. A lot of national trainers teaching that kind of stuff, or short sales or foreclosures. That's not where the deals are. Where the deals are right now are these motivated sellers, and we're doing direct to the seller, and the sellers just don't ask, hey, show me your bank account, show me proof of funds, show me pre-approval letter. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals, and no seller has ever asked that. They just don't. I teach you what to say, what to wear, what to drive, how to go to the house, how to talk to them, how to fill out paperwork, all that. And that's just not an issue. So you came to the right place. You can make money and recover from any setbacks that you've had in that bankruptcy process with wholesaling. It's just a super cool, powerful technique right now, and it's working in St. Louis, and I love it.
Cool. I have a few more, but I know you have a few more slides. Do you want to cover those, and then we'll come back?
Yeah. Let me go through. So clearly, I'll answer questions, but I can't teach everything here on this webinar. So I am offering this. I'm offering a 3-day boot camp, and during the 3 days, it's 3 full days. It's May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a 3-day weekend. It's at the Sheraton Clayton Plaza Hotel, and it's 9 to 5 each day. So it's 3 8-hour days. And it will be me teaching. If you've ever been to an event where people are up there trying to sell you stuff for 8 hours a day, that's not this. This is teaching. And I'll take questions. I'll walk through the weekend showing you how to build your 6-figure business, how to wholesale, how to rehab, how to own rentals, and it's all St. Louis based. Here's the website if you want to sign up. I'm going to take a few more slides to tell you more details about what I'll teach, and then I'll put this slide back up at the end. Okay?
Yep, that works.
So here's what I'm going to cover. I love teaching negotiation. I'll show you my top 3 techniques for negotiating a better deal. If you negotiate another $1,000 on a deal, that's another $1,000 right in your pocket. I'll show the exact blueprint in St. Louis of what areas of St. Louis, what neighborhoods, what areas, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, what style of houses, where it works for wholesaling and why. Stuff national trainers can't teach you. They don't know the difference between Jennings and Ledoux. You'll get all my paperwork. I'll walk you through how to fill it out, how to fill in the blanks. You'll get phone scripts when a seller calls you. You'll know exactly. You won't panic. Oh, what do I say? You'll know exactly what to say because I got a script that walks you through that. The same with building your buyer's list. We'll do some role playing in class so you'll understand what that's like. Like I said, I'll tell you what to wear, what to drive, how to talk to sellers, and a lot more. I'll actually bring my contractor who works for us right here in St. Louis every day rehabbing houses. He'll come and talk to you for about an hour teaching you how to estimate repairs, some of the unique things to look out for in St. Louis. And I'll bring my title company. It's super cool. We've got some neat stuff here in St. Louis other parts of the country don't have. My title company will show you how they handle the closing process so that even though you're walking out of there potentially with a $10,000 check, the seller still thanks you and gives you a hug for solving their problems. It's way cool. I'll bring students. I'm going to try to get George and Mary. I'm going to try to get Matthew and Molly to come up and do some live case studies. That's always the favorite part. Everybody loves the success story of somebody who was just recently right in their seat and overcame the odds and figured out how to do it. And that's what I love showing because I've been doing this for so long. Sometimes I lose sight of things people struggle with, but George and Mary were brand new. They've just been doing this a few months, and same with Matthew and Molly. So they're going to be struggling with the same thing everybody on the call is struggling with, and they'll tell you how they got through it. It's just way cool. Yeah. If you don't have access to funding, don't worry. I'll show you how to get it. And if you don't have access to funding, you're kind of missing out on 2/3 of the game. You know, I definitely talked about wholesaling, but I'll show you how you get all the money you need for rehabs and rentals. There's more cash right now in the St. Louis market. There's investors from other states investing in St. Louis and other countries, China, Australia, all coming to invest in St. Louis. It's amazing for us right now. Again, I'm doing this 3-day boot camp. It's only $297 a person for all 3 days, and that includes all your books, everything. But I know St. Louis people don't want to go by themselves, so I'm saying bring a spouse or a business partner. Get 2 seats for 3 full days for only $297. There's no extra charge to bring that additional person. I want to show this testimony. I'm going to show you this testimony, and then I'll open it up for questions. Is that all right?
That's good.
So this is Don McGee. This guy is so cool. He's a super cool guy. He's retired, just real laid back, easygoing, loves to bowl. And he started, and I challenged him, and I teach 22 different ways to go out and find deals, and he picked one of them and modified it to make it work for him, and he went out looking for vacant houses. His very first house was this little house in St. Anne on Cypress Road. Now, in St. Anne on the St. Charles Rock Road, there's a Walmart there, and Walmart moved out of there a couple years ago, so it's been a vacant Walmart building for a couple years. I'm sure it's going to end up being like a self-storage or something. But if you go Cypress Road, right behind Walmart, this is the first house on the left. It's been vacant for 15 years. Wow. 15 years. Don followed my process, got the house under contract, and I just want to play this video. I'm hoping that you guys can hear this. It's about 45 seconds. Let me just play it real quick.
All right, Don. Tell everybody your name.
Don McGee.
All right, and you got your first wholesale deal?
This is my first check. I'm very excited, and I'm waiting on many more to come right now.
How'd you get it? How'd you do the deal?
I sent out letters, and with your help, when I looked at the house, and we got it at a good price and made a good profit off of it.
Right on. And how much we made? It's a $10,000 sign-up fee.
Yeah, that's a good check, yeah.
Right. And we're here at Denny's, so I don't know if you remember this. You and I met here the very first time, yeah. July 20th.
Yeah.
And what is today? October
13th.
13th?
Yeah.
So we met July 20th, and by September 20th, you had this thing under contract.
Yeah.
And now October 13th.
It really works.
Closed yesterday.
It really works.
60 days to get it under contract, and less than 90 to get your first check.
Oh yeah. Takes hard work and time, but it works.
And what are you going to do to find another one?
Same thing, repeat the process.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Any advice for new people?
Listen to Chris.
I love it. Thanks, Dad.
All right.
Rinse and repeat. I love it.
I love that last part. Listen to Chris. He's funny. He's such a character. I love that guy.
That's cool.
Anyway, so that's all I got. This is back to that slide deck. If anybody wants to sign up, here's the website, stlinvestoracademy.com. You've got to put this /bootcamp on there to get to it, but you can sign up and register on there. If you've got any questions, you can call or text the office number. Danielle's there most days from about 9 to 5, most weekdays. So you can call tomorrow and ask her if you've got questions about it. But
Cool.
Jamie, that's all I got. You want to, you got anything that I missed?
Yeah, I'm not letting you go yet. So, okay. So I've got Brian says, what about Lincoln County? I live in Troy, Missouri. Will this work in Troy?
Yeah, so the cool thing about this, so what I teach is anything in the St. Louis metropolitan area. So St. Charles County, St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Lincoln County, Warren County, Jefferson County, and then also on the Metro East, Madison County, etc. So this works. So all of the strategies that you can apply, that the wholesaling that I talked about works. And when I show you the blueprint at the 3-day boot camp, I'll show you the blueprint of those areas where you can apply this strategy. But I've done deals in Lincoln County. I own some rentals up there. It's a great area.
Cool.
Even though it's kind of, remote, certainly there's a lower population in Lincoln County than in St. Louis County, but it still works. That's the cool part.
Very cool. Keith wants to know how would I claim the income on my taxes? Do I need to get an LLC formed?
Well, everybody's taxes is a little different. In the very beginning, I want you to just get a deal as fast as possible. And I'm okay with you doing it in your personal name in the very beginning, unless you are going through a divorce, a bankruptcy, or unless you've got a judgment against you, in which case then we need to get an LLC formed right away. But either way, you're going to form an LLC at some point quickly in the future. My attorney can do it for you for $600. You can do it yourself on the website for $50 on the county website. So there's no reason not to do an LLC. I don't want that LLC to own anything else, just wholesale houses. So if you've already got rentals or whatever in some other LLC, don't use that. Spend the money to get a separate LLC just to keep things in different buckets. But as far as claiming it on your taxes, everybody's different. If you've got a job, this will come in probably as a short-term investment income. And, you definitely have to claim it, right? If you are doing it full-time, then it's regular income. But you'll definitely have to claim it. One of the things I do at the 3-day, which I love, Jamie, I love this, is showing people who are their own small business owners, which is what you're going to be when you finally quit your job and do real estate full-time. I love showing them all the tax advantages, all the tax savings. It blows their mind. When they can earn a 6-figure income and pay less taxes on it than they did when they worked a day job making less than half that much, it's phenomenal. It's crazy.
It's amazing. The U.S. tax code is like 13,000 pages long, and most people don't have a clue how to use that. But once you figure it out and you've got the right kinds of accountants that are helping you, this is a recorded line, so I'm not going to say anything. But I have had better tax returns as a entrepreneur and small business owner than I ever did as an employee. So. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, me too.
Right. We got a couple more here. So Steve wants to know, at the 3-day boot camp, will you show us how to fill out the contracts?
Yes. Matter of fact, we'll walk through on day one when you first come in, even before we start, you'll get all the paperwork and all the handouts. And throughout the 3-day, we'll go through every single contract, how to fill them out step by step. We'll take questions. Yeah, we go through all of that, and you'll leave with the contracts in hand, so you can go out and start doing this right away.
Excellent. All right. Sarah wants to know, will we learn how to find buyers? I would be extremely nervous about putting a house under contract because I don't have anyone to sell it to.
Yeah. So, you know what's funny is that seems to be the number one concern for most people when they first get started. They worry about putting it under contract because they don't have buyers. And what I teach at the 3-day is there's more buyers out there than you ever need. And we go through cycles in St. Louis, but right now we're in such the radical cycle swing that the buyers are everywhere. The buyers are the easiest part of this process. So I'll show you a couple tips, tricks. I'll show you a couple of tricks how to build an incredibly huge buyers list. At this point, you know, I've been doing this a few years, but at this point I've got over 16,000 names and email addresses on my buyers list. When I get a property, I can email blast it out and get it sold in hours.
Yeah.
And you don't need that many, but I'll show you how to build it.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. Sharon wants to know, would it be possible to make up boot camp work outside of class if you have to miss a part of the class time?
Boy, that's tough. The cool thing about the boot camp is now I go in there to teach, and what is amazing to me is I always learn something every time, just because the room.
I listen to you.
The room is so cool, and I'll start talking about something, and then somebody else in the room, you know, at St. Louis, this is how we work. Somebody else in the room's got experience, and they'll talk a little bit about it or ask a question. And so making up stuff or making up class work that you missed, really, really difficult. I don't record it or anything. Yeah, you really got to be there. I really encourage you to find a way to make it happen, to be there if you can.
Yeah. Chewy, and I hope I pronounced that right, says, are the 3 days identical or cumulative? They're cumulative. It's different information every day. So
yeah.
they're building up.
Yeah, I could take that question two different ways. If that person's been to a previous 3-day event that I had in the past, you come back to this as a refresher, and hopefully you learn a couple of new things. But the 3 days here, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, are cumulative. I spend 3 full days going over different parts of the business. So you need to be at all 3 days to get the full picture. But you'll be able to leave there with enough knowledge to go out and start, operate, and run your 6-figure real estate business.
Perfect. 3 more that I have right now. So, we got another one. So we got 4 more. Janet says, this is an amazing deal for only $297 for 3 days of training. I have some friends that would love this. What is the best way to get information to my friends? Is there a website or something? Well, I can answer that one. Yes. That's the stlinvestoracademy.com/bootcamp. So that's open for anybody, whether they were on the call tonight or not. So you can send that out to everyone you know and help change everybody's lives. Let's see. Did I answer that okay, Chris?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. See, I can answer some too. Skip says, will you be providing lunch at the 3-day boot camp? I could probably answer that one, but I'll let you answer that one, Chris.
No, I won't. But here at the Sheraton, so I'm glad you asked that, because we'll be at the Sheraton Clayton Plaza. We'll definitely take breaks throughout the day. We'll break for lunch. There's lots of local places around. I believe in supporting the local community. So there'll be lots of places to go and eat lunch. But normally somebody also asks about parking, because anybody familiar with Clayton knows that parking is difficult. Park in the Sheraton Clayton Plaza garage. Park in the hotel garage. Not any of the other garages next door or across the street, but if you park in the hotel garage, when you come in, my staff will give you a coupon or a validation to get out of that garage for free. So don't park anywhere else, but park in this garage and you can get a coupon.
Wow, that's worth the price of the ticket all by itself. I said free parking in Clayton. That's worth the price of the ticket by itself. Let's
right.
see. Keith says, at the boot camp, can I record so I can review later?
No, unfortunately, my attorney doesn't allow recording there, but no, but you can take notes. They give you an amazing workbook and a pen and paper and take all the notes and all the paperwork, and you won't need to record anything. You'll get it. I go over everything.
Yep. Okay, let's see, 2 more. Oliver, do I have to be a U.S. citizen to buy and sell houses in Missouri?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we've got investors from other countries buying here, and you could make money just like anybody else.
Right. Okay, good. Brianna says, would there be a suggestion for renting to own? I have a friend looking for a current landlord renting, but they have a felony.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely talk about that. If they've got a felony and they want to rent or rent to own, you're going to have to stay away from the big companies and rent from a mom and pop. And definitely we can talk more about it at the 3-day. But I'll tell you right now, your friend needs to go on Craigslist and look for rentals and go through that. Most of the mom and pops aren't concerned about the felony background. They're more concerned about income. So there's lots of good people that will give your friend a second chance.
Good, absolutely. And you can start doing this and get your own houses and rent to him or her.
Right.
So become the
Right.
So there you go. Good. All right, Chris, I think that's all of them. If there's any, there we go. Okay, good. Thanks, Brianna. So if there's any others real quick, I think we're just about set. We got it in under 60 minutes. Lots and lots of information and great examples. Chris, you are a master at this, and anybody who comes to this is going to be just amazed at what they can learn and what they can.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I've been to 5, 6 of your events already. And every time somebody is just amazed, and I learn every time. And I've been around this industry for a long time, so
yeah.
I think that's it. Unless you've got something else, Chris.
No, I thank everybody for being on here, and hopefully we'll see you there.
We will see you all there. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.